Hey guys, good morning. Nice to be with you today. Hopefully in the next couple days you will find out when you might be going back to school. How do you feel about that? Are you looking forward to that day when you get back to see your teachers and mates and friends at school? Or are you quite happy being at home, homeschooling, online school? Are you a little bit mixed? Is it a bit of both? Are you a bit worried about seeing people again? It can be a bit daunting, can't it? So hopefully we'll find out soon when that might happen. Because it'd be good. I think it'd be good to get back out doing stuff, being at school, seeing people again. It might be quite tricky. So let us know in the comments, let us know during the week when we chat how you're feeling about being back at school, if that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, maybe next month. I think it'd be cool, it's exciting, and it's one step into getting back to a little bit of normal, isn't it? But it might be a bit tricky to start with, so let us know. Today I want us to talk a little bit about how are we coping. So how are you coping? Have a think about it. How are you coping? Now, we come to church, well, we watch church, we take part in church for our spiritual health, for keeping our spirits healthy, for learning about God, for growing as a follower of Jesus. When we come to church and when we interact with other Christians and we do that stuff that we call church, it builds up our spiritual health. Now, physical health, we might exercise. Who exercises? I don't exercise enough. I'm a little bit lazy, but I don't like going out in the cold. But what do you do to keep your physical health up? Do you eat fruit and veg? Do you do stretches and exercise? Do you go out for a walk every day? What do you do to keep up your physical health? It's important, isn't it? And then what about our mental health? Where does that come into it? Where does it come into how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling? Those three things, our spiritual health, our physical health and our mental health, are all quite combined and interlinked. You can't have one without the other. Because when I exercise, it helps. Yes, it helps my body, but it helps my mind, clears my emotions. And when I pray to God, when I speak to God, and when I interact with God, it helps me process the stuff that's gone on in my mind. And all of those things work together in all sorts of ways to help us be healthy and balanced human beings. We're a little bit like really complicated robots, really complicated machines, humans. Yes, we are made by God and we're not full of wires, but our bodies have ways of dealing with things and processing things and doing things. A lot like a machine, like a computer. We've got ways of operating like a car. We are incredibly complex. And if you know anything about building computers, which I know some of you do, that gets quite tricky, doesn't it? And there are lots of things that are there for certain reasons. And we have all of our body parts and all of our parts of our mind and all parts of our brain and our nervous system and all of our feelings and emotions, and they're all there for a reason. So we experience feelings and emotions as human beings because we're designed by God, and that is incredible. We can feel happy, sad, angry, annoyed, joyful, excited, all of the things that you could possibly think of as emotions. We experience them. We're designed to experience them. And none of them are shut off to us, and none of them are bad in themselves. It's often how we react, how we cope with our difficult feelings, which is the tricky thing. And we want to talk about our minds, our mental health, because how we cope with things really helps to keep our mental health in check. And we have to have it on the surface. We have to think about it. Because it's an incredibly important part of who we are. Those three things, spiritual, physical and mental health, all come together. And we have to be able to go through them, work through them, and be healthy in all of those places. So, how do you cope when things go wrong? Have a little think. I think coping when things go wrong is a bit like putting up an umbrella when it's raining outside. Now, if I had an umbrella here, it would be helpful, but you can imagine what an umbrella looks like. I'm sure you've seen one. Pop up your umbrella, go out in the rain, keeps you dry, mostly, unless you've got big feet like mine that stick out underneath the umbrella. But the idea of an umbrella is to keep you dry, isn't it? Now, maybe not always the coolest thing. I remember walking to school as a kid, being like, no, I'm not going to wear an umbrella, use an umbrella in the rain because it's not cool. I wasn't cool anyway, so I don't know what difference it would have made. And you just got soaking wet. But how we cope, or a coping mechanism, like a machine, a way of coping is like putting up an umbrella in the rain. And when the rain falls on it, or when the bad time comes, or the negative feeling comes towards the way that we're protecting ourselves, it brushes off us. So what are some ways that we cope when things go wrong? Maybe it's watching loads of TV, playing loads of Xbox or computer or PlayStation games for hours. Maybe it's binge watching films. Maybe it's eating loads of cakes and biscuits. Maybe it's not eating so much. Maybe it's taking some risks that we shouldn't have actually taken, or maybe a little bit risky or dangerous. Maybe it's sleeping loads or sleeping not enough. Maybe it's something like self-harm or self-injury, or taking drugs or drinking. We might have seen these things in other people. We might have experienced these things ourselves. And on the surface, some of those things aren't bad, are they? On the surface, some of them aren't fantastic for us, and we can see, actually, that might be a little bit dangerous, a little bit risky. But some of the other things that we use to cope when things go bad aren't, those are fine, in moderation. But all of those things and the way that you cope when things are not so good, maybe things go wrong, you have a difficult way, that is like you putting an umbrella up in the rain. So have you ever seen any of those things? Have you experienced them? Have you seen them in other people? Have you seen them in your own life? A lot of those things get kind of drawn out and pulled out as a real big problem. You do this, or you do this. You know someone that has done this. And we can often think, wow, that thing in itself is really scary, really dangerous. But actually, that's just someone's way of coping when things go bad. When I put my umbrella up and go out in the rain, it's to deal with what's happening. It's not, my umbrella isn't the problem, is it? The rain is the problem. But actually in life, it's going to rain. In life, it's going to rain quite a lot. In England, it's going to rain every flipping day. But when we go out and put up our umbrella, it keeps us safe. Now, what is the things that we do in our life that keep us safe when things go wrong? And we think about them. Are they helpful or unhelpful? Are they healthy or are they unhealthy? Do they put us in a good place, or do they put us at risk? When we're talking about our mental health, we're talking about coping with difficult situations. It's important to think, how do I cope? Is my way of coping helpful or unhelpful? Am I seeing something in someone else that I think maybe that's not helpful for them? What do I do? Are you coping well with the way that things are going at the moment? We're often going to get caught in the rain, and a good umbrella comes in handy. Sometimes we know it's going to rain and we don't go out. We avoid the whole situation. But sometimes we're out and about and we don't have one and we get soaked. But it's all about, how do we dry ourselves off? How do we bounce back from difficult situations? And how do we keep going? So when bad things happen, when we're feeling challenging emotions, maybe worry, anxiety, sadness, depression, other things like that, you might have experienced them, you might have seen them. How am I bouncing back? How am I recovering? How am I coping? Am I avoiding a situation completely in case it rains? Am I just going out and getting soaked and there's nothing I can do about it? God has made you and God loves you. You might hear that often, but it's completely true. And why don't you just soak that into your brain? God has made you and he loves you completely. It doesn't matter what you've done, doesn't matter what you haven't done. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, where you've been. God loves you for who you are. And he will help us in times of trouble. He'll be with us all the time. But he also puts us in relationship with him and with other people so that we work together. So I'm just going to mention 3 things that we can think about if we're not coping very well, if we're struggling with things, if some of those things are read out, like we're thinking about them, we're having challenging thoughts, we're thinking about doing things that maybe won't be healthy for us, or we're just in a place where we feel like we're out of control. My umbrella's broken and I don't know how to cope. 3 things I'm going to ask us to do and think about. The first thing is reach out and be brave. When things aren't going so well, when we're full of negative feeling and negative emotion, maybe worry or sadness, or just overwhelmed by the things that are going on, sometimes we have to reach out. Sometimes we have to be really brave. Now, this can be a bit scary. It's about reaching out to someone that we trust, reaching out to someone that we know, someone that cares for us, and saying, you know what, I'm not coping very well. I need some help. I've had these challenging thoughts. I've thought about doing this, which I know isn't good for me. I've thought about something that maybe isn't helpful. Reaching out and being brave sometimes is really difficult. But actually, it can take that much, like a fingertip of clinging on to the edge of the cliff. That's enough to keep us safe. That's enough to help us in our journey back towards feeling balanced, being in a good place. Number 1, reach out, be brave. Number 2, Ask for help. Who are you going to ask for help? Maybe it's a friend, a family member. Maybe it's the internet. The internet is an incredible place, but also pretty weird. I can Google anything I want and I can pretty much find out what it is. But also anybody can put stuff up there. So when we're searching stuff on the internet, we have to be really careful where we go into. Fantastic websites, but also there's some not very good ones. So you might see on Instagram or TikTok, something like that, like stuff that isn't helpful. So I want to give you a few places you can go and ask for help if you need to ask for help from someone. The NHS is an incredible place, an incredible service that we can access for healthcare, physical healthcare and mental healthcare. So if you're struggling with feelings and struggling with emotions, you can reach out to anything to do with the NHS and you can speak to someone, you can ask someone, you can search something. And I reckon if you see NHS in their blue logo at the top of the screen, that information is going to be gold. The information is going to be good. Now, maybe don't do that all the time, but if you need to, reach out to someone who works for the NHS. Maybe it's in school, maybe it's your doctor, maybe it's your GP, maybe it's someone you know who works in a place like that. There's another great website called Young Minds. If you go on that website, there's tons of stuff about looking after our mental health. How do we cope with situations? What does this feeling got to do with this? What's this a symptom of? What are stories from other people? Asking for help for places like that is really helpful. So that's Young Minds. If you go on their website, have a little look at it. Or come back to this video if you ever need it. But also asking people that are around you. God has made us, put us in relationship with others. So you can reach out to any of us here, whatever youth leader it is, or children's leader it is that you know in church that you've met before. Someone that you can trust. Maybe it's a friend or a family member, someone at home, someone at school. Maybe it's a text message or writing down on a piece of paper. Asking for help sometimes. You might not know what we're asking for help for. It's just like, I need some help. I've done that before in my life. I went through a real difficult time once and I had to write a note to someone and say, I need some help and I don't quite know what it is. And actually it worked. It hurt a little bit and it was a bit nerve-wracking, but asking for help. And the third thing is keep praying. I'm going through a hard time, Lord. What is happening? If you keep speaking to God, keep God included into what's going on in your life. He will step in at the right time, at the right place, with the right solution. Now, God isn't just there to solve all our problems all the time, but He wants to be in relationship with us because He made us and He loves us. So keep praying for that friend who you think is going through a difficult time. Keep praying for that family member. Keep praying for your own situation. Lord, help me to deal better. Help me to process what is going on. Help me to be close to you. Help me to know what to do. You can speak to God about anything. So reach out and be brave. Ask for help and keep praying. Our mental health is really important. How we're coping with difficult situations is so key. So speak up, talk about it, reach out. Speak to one of us here. We'd love to be able to help, pray with you, sit with you, chat with you, whatever. Guys, if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything, put it in the comments, get in touch with one of us here. And we will look forward to seeing you during the week on Zoom, or maybe we'll bump into you on the street, who knows. See you soon, take care.